to start the meeting of the regular planning commission October 6, 2022. The first item, I think, is, do we have, call to order is the first item. Then we do some changes to the agenda. Oh, so, yeah, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item is, let's see, roll call, Amy?
Ms. Dobson,
Here.
Mr. Dutzman, Mr. Earhart,
Here.
Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Aravalo,
Here.
Mrs. Dominic,
Here.
Mr. Sly,
Here.
Mrs. Squire, Mr. Welsh. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Amy. The next item is the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to move item number 4 from discussion to formal commission action.
Second.
Okay, we've, a motion has been seconded to amend the agenda by moving the capital improvements program to the, from the discussion to the formal commission action. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, so now with the approval of the amended, oh, we have to, I think we're good now. So now we go to the citizen participation area. And I don't think anybody's signed up or are they? But this is the point where we allow the public to come up if there's anyone who wants to speak. If not, we'll go ahead and go to the formal action, which is, the first item is the approval of our minutes from our last meeting, September 1st. Does anybody have any issues with our minutes from the prior meeting? If not, I'm just looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the September 1st meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded to approve the minutes from our September 1st meeting. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0-1.
5-0.
Yeah, 5-0-1. So I think I said 7-0. Yeah, sorry. So it's 6-0 on the first one. So the next formal agenda item on our agenda is the final platification, 49-2022. Is that pronounced Whistle or Whistle Farm? What is it?
Wiswell.
Wiswell Farms. Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you change it? That's okay. So, perfect, thank you. This is the, first plat of Wiswell Farms, the preliminary plat. This is a 24 acre, it's almost 25 acre, RP1. The, minimum lot that was found in there was 50 foot wide, 119, 120 foot deep at the lot building lines. You can see I've marked it out in red. I didn't do a very good job, but I did mark it out in red of what what the first plat is contained in the whole preliminary plat on page 2 of yours there. So it does show what the area of this is in conjunction with the preliminary plat. There's some elevations in there. In speaking with the developing group, the elevations, there's several more that will be submitted throughout the process, but they knew they had to submit some that they were going to build for sure. It's Ed Asper Land Holding. They submitted for the first phase, and it is a total of 101 lots. After going through all its 25 acres, separate profiles and all, we've verified that the taxes are paid. They're working on the plan. Matter of fact, most of the plans are completed on this, infrastructure plans. This is the one also where the base grant for Webster Street, goes through. So, you might not everybody might be, are you familiar with the Webster Street program? Or what's going on? Okay, base grant. So what has happened is the city applied for a base grant and they received 2.7 million, if I remember correct, for the improvements on Webster Street. And it will connect 199th to 191st. And this is part of that project. Some of the elevations are shown in here, as I mentioned. Now, the trail system, this is also a plat that, if you recall, the city will be receiving 42 to 43 acres of park ground through there. And we have yet to, right now as it sits, the developer will have to pay the $300 per lot or per house. But there's still some negotiation going on of putting more than that funding into that park project. So, but we have to leave it on there now. The improvement agreement is being prepared. It's a little more complicated on this improvement agreement due to the city's doing Webster Street, and so that's gonna be out of it, but yet they have to fund some of Webster Street. So utilities are available. This would now be using that lift station that's set down there forever. So that's finally, we're gonna get some utilization out of that lift station. It's been reviewed by everyone, all the staff and the consultants and the utility providers, and there were really no comments. Now, obviously, engineering has a few comments that are going back and forth with their engineer on the improvements, but they are proposing on this to reduce the setback from 5 foot, or from 7 foot to 5 foot on the sides, and it would be 20 feet instead of 25 on the back, and the front would go 25 instead of 35 foot. Those are the typical ones that are allowed in the code.
Right, it looks like you, just to clarify,
ahead.
you basically are just mentioning the fact that that RP1, that matches the code of the 5
That's correct.
feet. And what Pat's referring to in here is like 7 feet to 5, so R1 is like 7 feet.
That's correct.
So I just want to make sure, Debbie,
Yeah. And
it's all in the code, so this is.
yes, and like I said, they, at the building line, there's none of them that are less than 50 foot. So I know that was a stumbling block for some commissioners on a few of them, so,
I see 148.57.
yeah, it could be. Could be. Well, but that's not at the building line. That's what I just said, at the building line.
Well, at the back of it is 50.04 and at the front is 48.57.
Okay.
So there's not a whole lot, it can't be 50 feet at the building line unless it, and not by the way it's drawn,
Yeah, I don't know.
but it's close.
We're close. It's not 40 anyway.
No, it's
Right,
That you
close
guys,
to that code of 50.
right, that you guys were concerned about. Other than that, it's a continuation. There are no changes from the preliminary plat, and staff recommends the approval of it. Any questions? And the engineering's here as well. Their engineer. So if there's any questions.
Go ahead, Debbie. I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Sir, are these slab homes or basements? What do you get to ask?
Well, I did talk to the builder about that, and there will be a combination of basements and slab homes.
And still no additional refuge in case there's a tornado?
These guys have, actually on some of theirs that they've been building here lately, they are doing that.
They'll have the closet or bathroom or.
Yes,
whatever.
that's correct. Like I said, it's not mandated by the code, but they have been doing that. And we
I wish
can't
could
mandate it.
I just don't know. I just-
Well, we're working on the new code,
Yeah.
and we're also, in the comp plan,
Yeah.
you know, as you saw, and we'll discuss that.
Pat, what's the benefit, this is more of my curiosity, what's the benefit, I'm gonna stand up here. were the little notches in the final plat?
That's showing where the lines up with the preliminary plat. If you'll look
So if
on
they
page
ever-
2,
So if someone ever comes back and redoes a preliminary plat, he'll have to stick to where those.
that's correct.
So they're kind of timeless, okay.
They're definitely tying the preliminary plat in 100%.
Yeah, okay.
And also, the base grant, believe it or not, is through the Kansas Commerce. And so they want a pretty definite
Right.
everything. So,
Well, yeah, they're committed if they're saying they're gonna final plat that.
yep, it's definitely committed by turning those like that.
I got no further questions.
Good question.
Okay, Pat, I don't mean to belabor the point, but there's
Oh, that's
4 lots that are 48.11 feet at both ends.
No, it could be, Troy.
I know, I know I'm beating a
But
dead horse.
it's within, it's not the 40-foot, the code allows the 45 that we all discussed, but it's not the 40-foot that we don't like.
Just pointing out that there are some that are less than 50 feet at the building lines.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you.
When you say that's perfect, do you mean they'll correct it?
No,
They're bringing what they're bringing.
yeah. The code still allows it to go to 45 foot. It's just 40-foot lots is where it really comes in, and we've been told by the planning commission that they do not want 40-foot lots, so that's what we tell them when the developers come in, so. And we do
Still meets
not,
The 45-foot prerequisite for
That's-
RP1.
that's correct.
I don't know what you guys feel about it. I mean, it still seems like it's getting really narrow there, but
You really don't have anything to stand on.
no, I understand.
But that's part of also the comp and the codes that we'll be looking at, and if you want wider lots and all, we'll go into that discussion here in a little bit. I'll discuss it with you.
But yeah, I want to make sure I'm clear on everything here. So, but the code allows 45 feet.
That's correct.
Okay.
With 5,
Because I got confused with.
5, 20, and 25. 5-foot side yard,
Gotcha. The minimum lot width
20
is
foot.
50. Yeah.
yeah, 20 foot back, and 25 front.
Okay. And the one we changed before it was 40 and we changed.
40 foot.
Yeah, and we said 45
Mhm.
to meet the code.
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, and they left,
Okay.
just so you know.
No, it's good to know.
Stephen, can you help me understand? So is 45 the minimum requirement, but they're saying 40 and we're supposed to say yes?
No, the
Okay.
code in our comprehensive
Uh-huh.
plan.
It calls,
zoning code says 45 is the minimum, and they're over 45.
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, there's a few of them at 48.
We had,
There was another developer that came in and wanted 40,
Gotcha.
and we said no, 45, and Pat.
It was
they- they
it was
want-
the development at 207th and Ridgeview.
Oh, okay.
They didn't get they didn't want to meet our code, so they walked away. is what
Okay.
he said.
Well,
Go ahead.
you can still, under a planned development, approve 40-foot lots.
Right.
But didn't want to, so they didn't want to meet what the guidelines of the planning commission.
Yep. No, I think yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm done.
like I said, I don't beat a dead horse.
Doesn't
All right.
matter.
Well, thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Burton? Or the engineer, I think,
The engineer.
from anybody? I don't have any.
All right.
That was a great question, John.
Thank you.
So if not, I think if there's no other discussion about this, I think I'm just looking for a motion about this final plat.
I move to recommend approval of application plat 49-2022, final plat of Wiswell Farms, first plat to the Spring Hill governing body, including conditions as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been seconded to approve the final plat application 49-2022 Wiswell Farms as presented by staff. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 6-0. Next item is revision building elevations. Gemtech, Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you again. This is under site plan 46-2021. It's Gym Tech, and they have changed some elevations of what, from the original. So what we would like to do is, they would like to change to the products that they are, representing tonight, and I'll be more than happy to allow them to speak on it if that's okay with the chairman, and go through it with you.
Yep, I think that's great.
Okay, great, thank you.
Do I need to do my name and number and all that?
Where you live and how many kids and all that.
Oh, sure, social and all that. My name's Tyler Hyatt. I'm with Rose Design Build. We're at, where the heck are we? 15311 West 109th in Lenexa. So when we originally brought this to the Planning Commission, we had a much more elaborate screen on the front of the building. I want to stress that all the materials are the same. The only thing that we've done here is pared back the decorative screen design because it came in egregiously over budget. And so in the spirit of controlling costs for our client, we've proposed a reduced version of that screening facade. We've tried to maintain the original intent of our design, to keep it feeling modern, to keep something interesting, visually interesting happening at that building. So they asked that I bring all these lovely materials, and you can see that the screen was originally intended to be perforated aluminum. It still will be. One thing we've changed that we were intending to add some sense of place around the main entry to the space by having one of the panels be red, which is also part of Gemtech's color scheme as a company. Everything else has really stayed the same. We have most of the building is clad, 100% of the building is clad in metal panel in two colors. So the gray and the red. The red is used to accent our.
Oh, you're good.
The red's used to accent our shipping and receiving areas, which helps for wayfinding. And then we have some metal awnings that'll go on the front of the building over our windows, and then some larger pieces that will be over the doors, over the entries.
So, pretty thick material. It's still, the design change looks nice. I mean, it's still.
Is that red perf panel like a high performance powder coat that will last?
Yeah, it'll be like a heavy Kynar coating or something like that.
Okay.
All the panels 3/8 inch thick. Most of the panels will have a standard perforation pattern, and then where you see it kind of generically labeled Gemtech on there, that will actually be water jet cut into those panels as part of the frit pattern, so that you'll be able to see their logo.
Yeah, I think it looks sharp.
Sure.
Right, does anybody have any questions?
Anybody want this? Should we draw straw?
We got enough samples of it.
Thank you, Tyler.
So I think the changes, as you can see, the materials are good, and staff recommends approval of the changes.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Mr. Burton or Tyler in the back?
I just have a comment. I think it looks great.
Okay.
I think it's an improvement. Good thing they can save some money.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
I agree. If not, I'm just looking for a motion at this point.
Motion to recommend approval of site plan application 46-2021, elevation changes, Gemtech manufacturing facility is presented.
My second.
Okay, motion's been seconded to approve the revised building elevation site plan, as presented by staff. Start the vote on the left.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0. Now, the next formal item we have is the capital improvements program review for 2023 through 2027. Mr. Burton, you have?
Thank you. This is a yearly process. And what the statute says is that the planning commission must look at it and make sure that the comp plan is in compliance with the CIP is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. I apologize. So, as you see, the finance has provided now with the ranking on the sides of what the improvements and all that look for the comp plan and the years in those years, how they're funded, and the obligations of the city and the total cost. So one of those, I'll just talk real quick. The first two are the Wiswell, where we just approved the first phase. Part of that's base grant, and then the remainder of it will most likely, if we can get everything together, will be RHID funded, where the city would not have to fund any of that street. So, but I can't at this time say that that's gonna be the case. So they are on the capital improvements program, and with that, if it's okay with the chairman, I would let Ms. Dunn go over it with you guys.
Sure.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
great. Ms. Dunn, you have the floor here.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rhonda Dunn. I'm the finance director for almost 3 months here at the city. This is my first visit to the planning commission, and nice to meet all of you, and I'll thank you for the time you donate to the city is a really nice thing. On the comprehensive plan, I'm going to give you a high level. Can't get far without my glasses. A high level of what's in that plan. In advance, we provided you with a list of every single project that you can mull over and look through. And I'm sure you've done that before tonight, but let me give you some highlights of this on the major projects. As Mr. Burton said, 199th Street for Wiswell Farms north to 123rd, major project on here. 199th being one of our main corridors, also has other projects, Ridgeview to Renner, from 169 west to the city limits. There's quite a bit of work and expansion that will be happening to 199th Street over the years of this CIP. We have work on 223rd, another corridor, which is from Victory to 169, which is a project in cooperation with Miami County, where we plan to use funds available to us from Miami County for some of that project. We, of course, are continuing to work on Lincoln Street and make improvements there. Another thing we felt was really important to include in this plan is the routine, which is the street maintenance. And we wanted to add in sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. So that's something that doesn't just get washed away in an operating plan. We want to make sure it gets focus each year. And we identify funding to make the improvements in that area we need as well. A really important one on that list is the completion of Veterans Park. We've been out to bid. I'm sure you've been involved in all of that, and we plan to see that concluded in 2023, but then go on to Inspiration Park and Legacy Park and the other years of this plan. For water and wastewater, we are going to do a lot of study and work in our water and wastewater. In water, there's flood mitigation plans. There's obviously new development going on around the city in the expansion. There's work to the lake dam, as well as studies about the long-term benefits and impacts and needs of our water system. A similar study needs to be done in wastewater. In addition to that, looking at more development, a lagoon project, and other parts of being in the wastewater treatment plant. Finally, when you look long-term, you'll see projects that are not dated on there. And one of them is a law enforcement center. Our police department has outgrown where they are, And as the city grows and our needs grow, they will not fit in the building they're in today. And then we need to do something with the old swimming pool. Another example, we have to figure out something to put that asset to use. And then are we going to look at an expansion or addition to the aquatic center when we pay off the current debt of the aquatic center? Are we going to continue to build on the aquatic center? So in summary, that is what's in that plan. There is $67 million worth of projects on that 5-year plan, and 56 million of them will need to be funded by the city. Clearly, we know a lot more about what's gonna happen in 23 and 24 than the future years, so these plans are, works in motion. And some of the sources of revenue are grants, as an example, the base grant. It's also, CDBG, we plan to utilize that program. We utilize our excise and sales tax portions for some of these projects. And as well as we will be bonding some of these larger projects, we'll need to do that. As we go and as there's more approvals of each of these individual pieces, we will be creative and conservative is probably my favorite word, conservative in the way we choose to fund these projects as we go forward. Can I answer any questions related to the capital improvement plan?
What's the significance of the different colors here? Is there any significance?
The colors, the green ones were added along the way. The first time some people saw this, those projects were not on here. For example, the last round, we added an expansion of the wastewater treatment plant, things like that. The orange ones are ones that really need to be moved over to the operating budget, that they're smaller. They shouldn't be a capitalized project, studies and things like that. And that's where the orange ones go. The bright pink ones are ones that were unfunded. Light yellow is,
What about the blue?
the blue ones are bonded projects and were moved to the top. And then the light yellow ones are, like consolidated highway fund or excise tax or have a continued stream of revenue to fund them.
Short answer is it doesn't impact what you're looking
Right. This is a code, so I know what's happened in that plan.
No, that's actually very helpful, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm not trying to pick on you, but
No, you can.
item number 12 for annual sidewalk constructions, it says year 29, 23. I'm assuming that was a mistype.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And 29, 23, I don't know what we'll be doing,
I-
so
I-
I'll take that out.
I didn't think that's what you really meant. I
Yeah.
just thought I would double check and make sure.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Because that has been pushed down the.
Yeah, I hope they're
Yeah.
done by then.
I don't think we can wait that long, so.
I don't think so. It's been kicked down the road so many times that sometimes it feels like 29, 20.
Absolutely.
to get to it, so.
I had a question on item 4 and 5.
Okay.
The 199th Street improvement from Ridgeview to Renner Road. Is that all city property, that road, or is half that in county? That's south half.
I believe the
So-
project's on this, go ahead, Pat.
Right, if I may. So that is all, I take that back. There is some portions of that are within the county, and that's a CARS project.
Okay.
It's an approved CARS project already, matter of fact. It's just that, if I remember correctly, it's unfunded, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, our portion's unfunded.
Okay.
But the CARS project funds the county portion, is that?
Basically, CARS projects, the county, so that they can utilize that money, we can utilize that money. A lot of times we'll go ahead and allow a CARS project that goes through them as well as us.
Okay.
When you look at the column, the total project to the city obligation, the difference on those projects is the amount contributed by CARS. And the remainder would be the city's obligation.
I just know we've had troubles on 191st and Ridgeview, on that intersection, trying to improve it because
Right.
we only own one corner. So
Yeah, that's
we're gonna have issues with,
On this, we will not.
okay.
Now, if we went in and, like you said, we tried to improve that corner there and then the county, matter of fact, I think we were trying to put stop all the way around, if I remember correctly. And the county came back and said no. So there will be no problem on Ridgeview to Renner. And Cars is paying quite a portion of it, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Do you have it in there?
Uh-huh.
400,000
Number 4 and number 5.
and 200, so 300 something thousand, or 3 million something, so.
Good point, yep.
Thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
have a question
Do
too?
you know how each of these items relate to the long-term strategic plan?
Do I know how they each relate to the long-term
But
strategic
that's what
plan?
we're supposed to look at.
Right.
How do these things relate to the long-term strategic plan?
The majority of these, I would, in my opinion, and Pat may have a better answer to this, is that this is long-term development. And the plan, the comprehensive plan, is focused on development, and that's what the majority of these projects.
Well, if you go and read it,
Uh-huh.
there are specific goals in the
Right.
long-term strategic plan.
Yeah.
For example, one of them is trails, the other one is sidewalks, and some of it is streets. But not all of this relates to that. And that's, I mean, supposedly, our approval means that somehow what you've got relates to the strategic plan.
Comprehensive, uh-huh.
I can answer
Go
if
ahead.
you want me to. So, in the first two, due to the plat that has been approved, and what we also approved tonight. When you go on down, like Veterans Park and sidewalks and others, by looking at the, system, and you're exactly right, in what the streets, arterials and things like that, it is off a little bit on that. And then with the, at least this year, there are sidewalks shown in there.
We have it in every year.
Well, yes, but I mean, this year, it wasn't in the other. The only problem with that is it was unfunded. But I think that there's some funding that can come around on that. And, I mean, there'll have to be
Right.
on that to make
Yes.
it, to make it so that it does meet the comp plan.
Pat,
I
that's
just-
actually where I was
I understand
where I
what you're
was
saying.
going, because the items that you have here that are unfunded seem to be the ones that are related
Yeah.
to the comp plan.
Yeah, and like I said, the first two are, and the rest of it, without funding, I mean, they would meet what your obligation is. And I know that they are working on funding these projects. I have a little bit to talk about before, especially on funding and things like that real quickly. Do you have any other questions for Ms. Dunn?
Well, I do.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So when we talk about bonded projects, what does that mean towards the taxpayer?
That's what I was gonna discuss, go
Feel
ahead.
free if you want to.
No, go ahead,
Okay.
that's fine.
On the bonded projects, some projects, as an example, the two at the top that, are in a rural housing incentive district, they could be in a special benefit district. We expect those to be funded by the property owners in that area inside the district. On the bonded projects that are outside of a benefit district or some sort of secured funding, that is the thing that we really have to balance is what are we willing to commit tax dollars to for developing these types of projects. And so we're going to look, it's why they still remain unfunded, because we want to make the best picture for the taxpayer that we can on, and use the best source of funding that we can for these projects that we have made a priority.
So number 1 and 2 would be, the responsibility of the benefit, the people who are benefiting.
Yes,
So not normal Spring Hill residents.
nope, no,
So just people who are going to be new to that area.
going to be living in that area, yes.
Mr. Chip.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we had the appropriate scope of the discussion tonight, even though staff has done a nice job of laying out the costs. You had a question about bonding. The planning commission's role here is simply to look at the projects themselves, not how they're gonna be financed, not what the cost will be to the cost payers, and determine whether or not that complies as, in terms of a planning document. You've got parts of your comprehensive plan that deal with a transportation structure, parks department, there are statutory requirements in there. And whether or not the capital improvements that are listed here, in your opinion, comply with the comprehensive plan from a planning perspective, not from a cost perspective. That rests solely with the city council, okay?
So,
So I have a
But-
question,
but-
because I've asked before
here,
about
let me,
documents.
real quick, if you don't mind. We run a little different. If you have questions on funding and all, we're gonna answer it. You know, because that's what we're here for, and we'll answer it. And it does play a role, and if it says unfunded, then it might as well not be on the capital improvements plan. And so we have to take a look at it. Now, I know that Rhonda's working on it, and that's why she placed it on there. So, but we'll answer anything. I know, I'm very glad that he gave the statue part of it, but we'll be more than happy to answer it for you.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not saying that that's not an appropriate thing for you to look at or think about or have knowledge of. It totally is. You know, everybody's playing above board here and wants everybody to know everything. This is public government, but I do want, you know, when you take your vote, because you've now elevated this to an action item, I want you to make sure you understand statutorily what your action is. It's not, we're okay with spending however much money this project costs. It's the projects that you've got listed are consistent or inconsistent with the plan that we've developed for development of this community.
I honestly feel that given this at the last minute, or even just, with a few days to review, is not really sufficient time for us to make that decision without it being tied directly to where does it rely in the comprehensive plan. I think just being given this document like right before the meeting starts and saying, we need you to vote on this, it's an unfair decision for me. But I'd also, this is the second time now I've been told that there's statute that says what I'm allowed to ask or not allowed to ask, and the former attorney said he would get me, that statute. Could you do that?
I'll pull it up right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be voted on tonight, it can be tabled.
Right. I mean, that could be a motion too. I mean, it doesn't have to be voted on tonight, which is that they wanted to move it to a formal action because it should have been on the formal action. And we did get it at the last minute, so I mean, that's part of what we do. If you feel like there's not enough time, you can always vote or make a motion to table it to the next time.
I would like to continue a little.
Go
bit
ahead.
On some of that other discussion. Now, the reason I bring this up is there's 67 million? 67 million. And really about 10 this year?
I think it's more than that.
My point is on this is excise tax plays a huge role in being able to not geo-bond or burden the taxpayer as much on existing taxpayer, okay? And I know I preach this all the time, is working with developments and developers and landowners, and they have a different idea on what they want to do there and all. You know, a lot of times that excise tax is about the only thing that we have to be able to fund our portion of maybe a CARS project or something like that. So I would just ask that we continue to work with developments, we work with developers. We have an open mind on different types of designs or criterias or things of that nature, because it does play a huge role. Excise tax does. And then sewer, all the impact fees play a large role in helping out financing of this.
And the key to me on the CIP is that we've made a list of the projects we want to work on the next 5 years. In the first year, we've prioritized the most important ones, the ones that are going to get attention first. Then from there, we have to fund those projects. And then that's up to the governing body to approve a bond or approve spending the money out of a certain fund or even actually authorizing the project. The key to this document is, these are the things we want to work on.
Right.
And then there are more and more and more steps that go into actually accomplishing what's on this list. Can I answer any other questions?
I'm a little confused on the last page,
Okay,
where you have future projects not on a timeline, because you have 2022 for Spring Hill Justice Center, and then you have it on 2027 also.
there's two different things. 2022 is acquiring property
Okay,
and 27 is, construction.
okay. And, but you also have something listed as 2021 for facility broadband connection, which is passed, so that's,
These are, the broadband connection, I believe, is still in the works. It's approved, but still working, right?
but why don't we have a budget on that then, if it's actually working then?
It does not have a budget on it.
No, on the last line,
Oh,
the last page, it does not have any money across the,
That's right.
if it,
I'll be honest, I do not believe we have contributed money to that project yet.
Right, so on that, what we're looking at is the connection of the facilities through, who's here? Comcast, I'm sorry. And it looks like at this point that Comcast is gonna fund that
Right.
connection of the facilities. So
would it be zero across there then instead of blank?
it.
It is zeros,
Yeah,
right?
it's just,
Oh, instead of blank, okay.
I mean, so
That's-
it means different things to me for a zero than a blank.
Okay.
Because it's unknown as opposed to identified
Zero.
as being a zero amount, so.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be
Yeah,
picky on it,
No, I
but,
agree.
but that's, that's very different things,
Well, you
Okay.
in my mind, sorry.
right.
and I will tell you this, we are working with Comcast and I received some information from them on the routes that they're gonna be taking and all, and I'll share that with you just as soon as we get them through the right-of-way permitting process.
Is that same for the Justice Center in 2022? It's blank as well?
We have not committed any money to that project at this time. And that, so far, we don't have an estimate on a cost of land.
That's correct.
I don't believe we've identified land even yet.
Yeah, we're still in the, that's correct, we're still in the identification areas of those properties, trying to work with some of the existing developers. And obviously, if we can get, a developer to help out with that, you know, we'd be more than happy to accommodate them on taking some
Like land
properties.
donation?
Yes, that's correct. And we do have one that we're working with, and you'll obviously see that before any action is taken. One of them, I think that if things wouldn't have slowed down a little, we probably would have been able to obtain it pretty quickly, but it's all tied into a development, so.
This is what I'm gonna say, is no criticism to you, Pat, or finance officer, but quite frankly, the city council, prior and existing, have never voted to build a justice center. They had a discussion at one point where they simply agreed that it might be a good idea. But there was no vote ever taken, so I don't understand why we're pursuing land donations or designing of a building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, if I can answer from my side of it on the trying to get property and all is, that's the way I was directed. That's all I can say on that, so. And I think that, and maybe, Mr. Massey has some additional thoughts on it and,
I think it's in the very preliminary phases of looking into this, so some of these projects are more for planning, over the next 5 to 10 years. Quite frankly, there's probably several projects on here that won't, come about just due to cost, but we still have to put them on the CIP in order to have a 5 and 10 year plan, so that's why it's on there.
So can I clarify, you're asking us to vote on the entire thing or just projects number 1, 2, 3, and 4? For some reason I have those.
It would be the entire,
It's 23 to 27,
that's correct.
the full CIP.
Yeah, and we're really voting on, does this meet to the comprehensive plan?
Which I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
wonder
it's
if they can-
difficult to make that assessment, right?
You know, we have a whole bunch of lovely colors on here already. Would there be an opportunity to add another color where these items address our strategic long-term planning and highlight those items?
Strategic long-term planning,
Kind of what Rodolfo pointed out, they're called out in the comp plan.
so you're looking for something that ties it to the direct, every single
Right,
project
saying-
directly to the comp plan. Whether
If
it's a
it
color or
does,
something else.
If it does, so we could
does.
say item number 8, addresses the strategic plan. Item number 25 addresses plan. So we can go through there and we don't have to, I mean, again, it was last minute and now we have.
Actually, I keep wanting to come back to that. This document was given to you days ago. Right, a week ago.
On
It-
Friday.
What they're talking about is the docket that they received and now it's prioritized.
Right, this is just where the prioritized moved it to the top in order, was the
And
difference.
so the document has
The
changed.
projects were the same.
I know, I don't wanna be a booger, but I mean, 4 days to look at this. I mean, I know it was Friday, but, you know, I know we're a small town. I've got a kid that plays football. I've got another kid that plays football on Saturdays. I've got senior pictures going on. I didn't have time to review this over the weekend. So I just don't think that's a fair assessment to say you were given it on Friday and you should have had it reviewed. So, and I do think that things have come up, like wanting it tied back to the plan. If that is our job, then we need the tools to do that.
Okay,
And it's not just this. I mean, we're asked not to only review this with 4 days, but we also have an RFP to review as well for tonight. So it's multiple documents, just put in our lap in the last few days to say, what do you guys think? And I think we're just asking for more time.
Right.
okay.
I don't think anyone's saying it's wrong. We just need more time to digest it to make the right decision.
I know I'm walking in late, but one of the things that has always kind of bothered me about this, and I guess I was kind of hoping that maybe with, new heads at the wheel, that we might see the CIP look a little bit different. One thing that I'd like to see is, I think this is hard to digest that and pull it out and make it look like, I would like to see that, and I'll pick my soapbox item. I want sidewalks. So I would like to see a sidewalk plan. I've sat on this board for a number of years, and I'm not picking on any, I'm just saying, I wanted sidewalks for years, and it has been in the CIP for years with no movement forward. One of the things I'd like to see is, here's our street outlay. This is where, or sidewalk outlay, this is where we're gonna start. This year we dream to do this section of sidewalks. I would like to see that. And then, to continue that, in 23, we have X number of dollars going to sidewalks. In 24, we have X number of dollars. In 25, we have, I mean, it's a 5-year capital outlay. I'd like to see the amount that's going in each year. As well as, I'd like to see the same thing done with streets. We're gonna fix this street, we're gonna fix this street, but what year are we gonna fix this street? There's no major, I mean, we're expected to do a comp plan. I would think that the city would want some type of comprehensive plan on, these streets are up this year, these streets are up this year, these sidewalks are up this year, these sidewalks are up this year.
I think that's coming. I've been here a total of 5 weeks,
That's what I said,
and I think, you beat me by a month, Rhonda, so,
maybe 2 weeks.
yeah, maybe a couple weeks.
Yep, barely.
So we're currently in the process of doing a lot of changes. Next year, I think you're gonna see I know the council will see a completely different, budget cycle. The CIP will look different. We're trying to put plans in place for items like that. We're looking at the streets right now. I met with the engineer today. We're looking at some of I think the indexes were done 2017 maybe. What we're trying to do is look at our debt analysis, look at all the fiscal planning for the next 5 to 10 years, put that all into a plan, and then bring that back to the governing body. Unfortunately, we've been here for 5 weeks, but we're going down that path, and that's where we want to have a vision, and then we want to put a map in place to get there. And so we don't have that now because, quite honestly, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what sidewalks need replaced, but we know that that's an issue. And then we just, quite frankly, have to figure out a way to pay for it all.
But we do know where sidewalks are needed.
We do, but I don't. And since Rhonda and I are about a month and a half into this, we don't have that ability to put that together right now.
And I understand, I'm not trying
CIP.
to bash, but those are just things that I'd like to see.
Right.
So then can we have this, more realistically and maybe a shorter term plan? Maybe a budget that is just for a year, and then once you're able to get those other things in place, then we can look at a 5-year plan? Instead of saying, yes, we'll do all these things and approve all of this, when it's gonna change anyways. Is that what you're saying?
It does come back to you every year.
This is a fluid document.
Okay.
It's approved annually. There'll be things on here next year that we've taken off, and there'll be things that we've put on.
Okay.
Things that got delayed,
Right.
things that get pushed to another year or something like that, so.
I think that's what Cindy's saying, is it gets pushed every year.
Yeah, I mean, it
Sidewalks
says
gets
annual
pushed
sidewalk,
off
but
every year.
What-
I can tell you for 20 years, it's been annual sidewalk.
And part of that is, that comes back to the tax funding of this. So unless we have enough revenue coming in, these things will get pushed back, which goes back to our debt analysis and looking at overlapping.
So can we also then have some type of a cover letter? I mean, I went out and looked at other cities. Can we not have some type of a cover letter that tells us what our debt analysis is and what we have coming in reserves, or what
Well,
the assessed value is?
The CIP, as the attorney had stated,
I'm sorry, I'm late.
we're going way into the weeds on this, and we'd be more than happy to give that to you, but we just started working with an
I
individual to
understand,
help with
just
that.
for future.
I think there's a difference of what you're asking for versus what this body is supposed to review and act upon.
That may be, but at the same token, it's hard for us to sit here and say, we're gonna approve a 5-year CIP.
If it complements and is part of the comprehensive plan, I believe is what this board is supposed to look at. Not whether the funding mechanism is there or, I mean, I don't wanna speak out of hand, but
No, you're right, you're right.
But
I think we're going down a rabbit hole that is not a good.
But it should be attached to our CIP, whether it's at the city level or the planning commission level. And there's no document that accompanies this.
I did want to answer your question on the statutory authority. The statute is KSA 12-748. In essence, what it says is that in the absence of the planning commission's approval, 2 things can happen for any major project. They have to, each project that the city council approves and funds comes to this body for approval that it complies with comprehensive plan or it doesn't, unless you review and approve this list, your CIP list, which they do, which most good responsible cities do. They do multi-year, 5-year, because it's not, even though your budget, your budget this year, it's not gonna cover all this stuff. You're projecting out what your budget's gonna do, and that's not 100%, because things like COVID happen, things like 08, 09 with the economic downturn happen. So, and she can tell you that. So you're projecting out what we think we should be able to accomplish. And then that comes to this body for the sole purpose of determining whether it comports with the planning document, meaning the land planning document piece that you adopt. If you reject that, it can then go, that just becomes a recommendation that goes back to the governing body. And the governing body can override your determination and still move forward with the project.
Right, we're aware of that. I think what we have to decide here today is exactly what's been brought before us. Do we want to table this item to have more time to look at it, to see if these items do comply with the comprehensive plan in this CIP? Or do we want to move forward and say, yeah, it does comply? It's kind of difficult to tell on each item, you know, without specifically looking at it in more detail. I think is what some of the commissioners are saying. We realize the city can overturn whatever we do. You don't have to tell us that, but go ahead, Mr. Bird.
Could I, for just order of business,
Yes.
can we place Ms. Squire as present for the meeting?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
What we will do is we'll try to get as much information back to you as we can to help out
My
with
other question in this is, and maybe it's already been asked and discussed, so again, I apologize, I just left work to get here. Doesn't CIP come before budget?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No.
How can you do a budget when, and approve a budget when you don't have your CIP approved?
When you have in that budget a certain amount of revenue, and they are two documents that work together. And so what we have done is identified, based on our budget, what money is here to fund these projects and what are then unfunded. So they work together, but it doesn't mean one's in front of the other.
next year they'll be together.
I think too, if you look back, I've looked back at the history of Spring Hill, and they have not been approved together in the past.
I guess I've always thought that the CIP went first and then the budget.
I did not find that in the history of the planning commission anyway.
I think we want change. I think that's why you guys are here. I think it's a good thing. I think there's been a lot of things that have happened in the past that we don't want to repeat. So I know history is good to look and reflect on, but I think it's also time for you to bring your knowledge and what works best, that you've done at other places and bring it here.
Well, and what's gonna help our city move forward and not my soapbox again. Annual sidewalk, and then annual sidewalk hasn't happened for year after year after year. I mean, there's got to be something. What's the purpose of putting it in there if we can't fund it?
There should be routine updates to the governing body on the
Long-term plan.
progress of the CIP.
But how long-term? Steve, you
Well,
know that's my
we have,
soapbox.
well, I know, but we're supposed to go out at least 5 years, probably 10, right, for us.
And how long have I
Right.
waited for South Street for kids to be able to walk to school?
As long as I have. So, yeah, but you have to put, right, they have to put a 5-year program together, that's kind of
I
standard.
understand that,
every
but I
state.
also think that we should be making sure it's things that
Well, and
we have a grant
Right.
idea or a way to
Well-
apply it.
yeah, and we talked about this before for the sidewalks, you know, should we have some sort of special district where the residents there help pay for that, fund that, right? So that's an idea. And that's a real good idea for the residents that need those sidewalks updated. They're living there, let's help pay for it. I wanted to do it when I was living over on Victory. So there's all these ideas, and maybe that'll come up in the new, comprehensive plan guidelines, right? So that, and maybe when they talk about budget again.
Right.
But,
when-
I think what we're looking at here today is, do these, without looking at the actual numbers, and the dollars, does each item actually fit into our comprehensive plan, or does it not? And so I think some of the commissioners are stating, well, we're not sure, does it fit in there or not? And
Well, I
so,
think there's a couple things missing that I'd even.
right, there's
that
probably
I'd
a
even
lot
like
of
to
things
see in
missing.
there.
Right, there's probably a lot of things missing.
That I think are topics of discussion, or they at least have been here,
Right.
but I don't see them in the CIP.
Well, you're right, and some of them, the commissioners here, before you got here, were saying, well, we didn't have enough time to look at this,
Yeah.
maybe we need to.
And there's a couple of them that are way out that that I'd love to ask Pat or, Mr. Massey about saying, well, why is this so far out? And I don't understand.
What, and we can easily table this, and we can all do our research and say, does each of these, match the comprehensive plan or not? And do we need to add a few things or not, right?
And
I'm
we,
okay with that.
yeah, and we can outline.
Fine,
We can
I
do
can't
a
make a
better
motion,
outline for
since
you,
I'm the
so.
chairman, so, what I can do is say, we can do that, and give us more time to look at that, to approve that, and, we appreciate your help too, Rhonda and Lane, so it's, we're all trying to do the right thing here, and I think part of it is this has always been slapped in front of us and, just approve this. And so part of it is, I don't think we did our homework in saying, does this match the comprehensive plan or not? There's no doubt in my mind that everything on here does, but are we leaving things out? That's probably the real question, right? So that's just my opinion, and I want to hear some other commissioners' opinion, but we probably beat this to a horse. We want to.
And agreed, I apologize.
No, it's all right. But I think we probably battered this discussion a lot. So now it's really up, do we want to table this and, look at it some more, maybe add a few things, and have maybe Rhonda come back next month? Or do we want to go ahead and approve what's on here? And does it satisfy the comprehensive plan or not? And so that's really our two options. I'd like to just move forward at this point and see if anybody has any other questions or things. And Mr. Burton, you wanted to talk a little bit too, additional on this or no?
No, I don't have any additional at this point.
I think at
I'll
this
answer
point,
questions.
I would like to just, go ahead and decide if we need to look at this more, or if we need to, table it, or go ahead and vote on it.
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary, if you have more
Um,
questions.
How do you guys prioritize things? I understand with, like, the Webster, it goes into the developments, I get that part, but like the street maintenance or the sidewalks, or how do you guys prioritize that? Is there,
Is a group of us who met together and we looked at things that we're like Wiswell Farms, we're generally moving towards a direction we intend for that project to go forward. Streets, curb and gutter, sidewalks, we agreed amongst ourselves, amongst several people, that this is a priority. We want to make sure it gets funded every single year, and that we develop a plan to implement and to get things done. And so we did it as a group based on development that we're aware of, projects that we're aware of, and then,
do you base it off of each department? So like,
no.
No.
so the construction.
I have to say yes and no.
part
We
is
treat,
higher priority than sidewalks.
yes, not really. I mean, we have to put a number on things, but because here's my thing. We want Veterans Park done. The public wants it, the governing body. Streets and sidewalks and curbs are going to be on the plan every year, so it's a high priority as well. They had to be numbered, and that's the way we did it. We will definitely finish Veterans Park.
Veterans Park also, we have pressure because we do have a lot.
Donations.
Yes.
Right, no, I just meant, I think if you're prioritizing things, I think that, like, street maintenance and sidewalks need to go up the ladder if you're not doing it by department.
And actually, I'll tell you, I did the 10 series, so 10, 11, 12, and 13, I kind of grouped together as similar type of projects, like annual street maintenance, annual sidewalks. I prioritized those together, and streets came first, I think, because it has the most money, is how we did those. So I did group them by types of projects, development versus
Right.
ongoing
Rhonda,
forever. Yeah.
On the annual street maintenance of that $970,000, that is a planned, as long as the governing body approves that.
Approves it, that is
Before
our,
the end of the year, we plan to go out for an RFP this year and encumber those funds for, 2022 funds to do the project in 2023.
right.
And then we're working with the consultant to look at all of our data, look at our projects. And at that point, we're gonna come up with a plan on how to figure out, the street maintenance. And my guess is, it could be upwards of another several $1 million that we're gonna have to do on chip seal, mill and overlay. And that's probably very generous when I say a couple million. But we will come up with a plan in street maintenance. Even though it shows on here as a 13, it's actually probably up in the 1 and 2 range, just because it's a project that we know is
We're going to do.
going to occur in 2023.
Then let's put it there.
Say it again?
I said, then let's put it there. Let's put it in 1 or 2. I do have a question about number 10. What does it mean by a bunker remodel split? Where's the bunker?
It's here behind the building, this attachment to the Civic Center.
What does that do?
It's,
What's the bunker?
it's right out here, this concrete structure out here. Have you been in the back?
Tell her the history.
Yeah,
Okay,
what's it
so
for?
It was built with the school, as a shelter.
Okay,
The truth of the matter is, they built a lot of them to withstand bombs
okay.
back in those days. So they call it a bunker, I call it the bomb shelter, but it's empty now. The police department was in there years ago. They've moved them down there, and it needs a roof so that it doesn't leak, and then we could utilize that space. It's 7,000 square foot, round numbers.
Before the police department had it, it was the library for, this was the elementary school?
Oh,
Library.
yeah, I didn't go back
And
that
if
far,
there was
but
ever anything that happened, it was intended for this to be opened up for citizens to take shelter.
Okay, so it will still be safe, like citizens will still be able to go in there if there's a tornado in there?
I don't have that answer.
Okay, it's not tornado safe, it's bomb
Oh,
safe?
it's tornado safe.
I don't know.
What is the chance a
The
bomb
in-
is gonna hit versus a tornado? But,
No, but I mean, that was.
I mean, we had that conversation last time, you said 50 years since a tornado, but
The
it's been,
intent is
I don't know
for
how many years.
storage,
Probably a
so-
bomb be, go ahead. I'm
I was gonna say, the intent, I don't know that, there's been any discussion about citizens going in there for tornado, safety, but it would be that, several departments have a need for extra storage, that we're doing off-site storage now, that we would be able to utilize that, but we just need it,
Control.
watertight
Right.
and controlled, so.
Don't lose another building before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it was looked at to remove and all years ago, and it was a lot of money to remove, and, you know, it's still a really good building, just needs a roof.
So it's still bomb safe?
Oh, I imagine.
Okay.
It's
You
2
know,
foot thick,
today's events, where do I need to go?
right here.
So, okay,
It's where I'd be anyway.
yeah, okay. Are you gonna let me in?
Well,
If you beat me there?
yeah,
Just put a passcode on it, tell us all the code.
yes, there you go. Sure.
Is,
All right, is there any other questions?
hang on, what about the Lincoln Street? Why are we back doing Lincoln Street? Did we never finish that?
No, ma'am.
Never finished it.
It was a project and, you know, I just.
Keeps
tell it as
growing.
It is.
Keeps growing.
It was a project that the city crews at the time thought they could do, and I think they could have. It's just one of those things that just never got done.
Is that still partially because of this, I mean, there was one time that we were talking about that there was maybe springs under there that was causing some of the deterioration?
We've yet to see that.
Okay.
I mean, it was just bad roadway. It was bad days. There's no doubt about it. This last part that they just poured, the rock and all had set over the winter and it was hard, so. There is, I think, another 1.3 million or something of work to do there,
Yes,
something in that
about
nature.
1,000,001, 1,000,002, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just.
Don't
that was off the
exaggerate.
Top of my head. So,
All right, are there any
well,
other?
by the time we get it.
I think I would like to see
5.
this table, just because there's a lot more information here, and it doesn't exactly match up with what we got before, nothing against you guys, I just wanna be able to digest it a lot better. And I see, there's several different things, like under the 2023, the wastewater treatment plant expansion for growth listed as 2026. The second page, almost down to the end of it, and it says it's 2026. And so I think there's just a few things that need to be cleaned up on it.
And then also you said the yellow items were gonna come off of here. Can you just take them off?
Actually, the yellow ones, we wanna leave on here so they are tracked. If I just pull them out and put them in the operating budget, then we have to hope they get done. We wanna make sure things like streets and sidewalks and things are on this plan, and when it's reviewed, we update that as well. But yes, they can be taken off for your copy if you'd like.
I think maybe just for ease, because that's
Yep.
mainly for internal tracking.
Right,
He would.
Take all the colors off and then maybe,
yeah, it's gonna look totally different when I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
There'll be a lot less information on it, but some new information that you don't have.
Okay,
So I'm in favor of tabling it until you have the chance to do that. If you don't mind, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I think that it doesn't seem like it's, as error-free as I would like it to be.
is there any other comments from commissioners? Yeah, when we appreciate all your help, Ron, and
Yes.
we're actually welcome to Spring Hill, and we know we need some help here on the finance side, so thank you and for putting this together, and we're very thorough, as you'll see. And so it's, and Lane see that, but we try to ask a lot of good questions and try to do the right thing, and so that's all that we're trying to do here.
Well, I think that all of us get hit with just as many questions in the public as what city
Yeah.
council does.
Absolutely, and you don't see that. Yeah, but we've thought about all this, you know, including the sidewalks for many, many years, to Cindy's point, so we won't go down that path again, but, I think, at this point, if everybody's okay with not asking, if you're done with your questions with Rhonda and Pat and Lane, we just need a motion at this point.
Troy, go for it.
I'd like to table the CIP until next month.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded to table the CIP to next month. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 6-0.
7-0.
7-0.
I would ask you to give me a timeline of when you would like to see this again, so you have it in advance of your meeting and the amount of time that you want. Is that 2 weeks ahead? Is it a month ahead?
Oh. I don't think.
If that's
plan on.
sufficient
I don't
for
think
them.
you have to make massive changes, right? I don't think that's what we're asking, right? It's more about us having more time to look at this. And actually, I kinda like the yellow on there that's, you know, for me, that's, you know, on there. I know it's,
I can
Going on.
correlate it with the comp plan also.
right. I think it's more,
do
does
that
each
real
one,
quick.
you know, is it in compliance with our comprehensive plan and, you know, does it
Yeah.
meet that? I think that, and then are we leaving anything out? That's kind of
Well,
the,
that's what I'll need to know.
Yeah, is that I
You
don't
have
know.
something,
right.
Could you also put a key on here? Like what does yellow mean or what does red mean?
If I color code it, yes, I
Yeah.
will.
Yeah,
that
and
would
I
be
don't
great.
think that, yeah, we're not asking for massive changes, just make it a little more clear what the colors are and everything, and then
Okay.
maybe, I think also, part of the questions that I've heard was, you know, each one, does it satisfy the comprehensive plan or not?
I'll
Check
I'll do
mark.
that.
Yeah, that's
I
all.
can do that too.
So I don't think we need major
As
changes.
far as the timeline, a couple weeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
2 weeks will be enough?
Yes.
Okay,
I promise I'll vote on it next.
thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ronnie.
All right, that's the end of our formal action. Now we just, we're gonna talk about the comprehensive plan, request for proposal. Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. As you know, we sent out the comprehensive scope of work and all, and we did get some replies back from the planning commission. I incorporated those, and then, we were waiting for a few developments and a few other changes within the outlook of the community. And, it doesn't seem to, they want it out. So we sent out the RFP so that we can get, someone on board through the winter. And at that time, then we'll start looking at the scope of area that you wanna look at, and also all the changes and all. I did talk to several firms about this, and it's on the web, and it's also gonna be in the paper Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'd get there one of those days. So, and then we'll see what we get. The timeline is just a couple of weeks for them to submit, so we'll submit that to you. The only thing that we have to do is make sure that what you get and all, don't share it with anybody. You know, please, that's something that we need to respect the firms and all that. So as soon as we get them, we'll get them to you.
So you said RFPs are due in 2 weeks?
Yes.
So is it potential that we'll be voting on both items or look at both items next month? Or will we have more?
Well, you mean the RFPs, if we get them, and we do, we'll receive them in a couple of weeks and we'll get them right to you. And yeah, if you feel comfortable on voting on, and what we even might do is, no, I can't say that. So yes, we'll vote on it and we'll get the firm that everyone likes in here immediately,
And how long?
or the company, I should say.
And that could be, you said this winter before,
So, well, we put 1 year.
but for 1 year for the full project, I got you.
Yeah, because in talking to a lot of them, with a full comprehensive plan and, You guys don't have any trouble talking, so. Well, yeah, we put it a year, is what we did.
Diversity of thought.
There you go. So there should be, I mean, through the winter, we'll start pumping out information and we'll get your thoughts and I hope that, you know, we'll make sure that this time when what we might do is, question and answer type deal where you can just fill it out and send it in and all, cause really, we did not receive a whole lot of comments on the RFP that we sent you guys. We did implement what we received. So,
I just have a question on it.
yes,
Like one of the steering committee, like it says, the committee will be appointed by the planning commission. Is that
yes.
planning commission members on the steering committee, or who, like?
Well, okay, so the steering committee will be, I left it so vague because I really don't know if you guys want contractors to do this also, developers or whatever. Steering committee can be you guys.
Be anybody.
That's why I left it, it's appointed by the planning commission.
Okay.
So, you know, if you say, hey, Pat, we don't even want you there, if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. So, but I just left it vague so that you guys can make the decision for me. Or tell me what to do is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Great, good answer.
How many points do I get?
9.5.
9 points? Oh, all right.
Not quite a 10.
Are there any questions though on this? Josh, did you have a chance to read through it?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think it's,
I'm very pleased by it. I'm curious about the web-based plan.
right,
I know that there's generations coming up and we all live on these, so, you know, the old school of just a PDF,
right.
I think that's old school, and I
I
think
believe so too.
our web-based plan needs to be more interactive, so.
And that's, you saw we have this in there. And we have full presentations where
No, it's very well,
they have to present it to you guys as well as whoever else. A public presentation also on it. So, you know, in talking to a couple of firms, it's probably not unreasonable that it'll probably take us 6-7 months. And immediately we'll get it on the web base where you can interact with it and we can get, like, Cindy will draw something on there and it'll say Cindy's mark, and Mr. Rodolfo says, no, I don't like Cindy's mark, so he draws a different one and it will tell you who interacted with it. So,
Right.
so if you put something on, just be ready, I know who it is.
I think what would be helpful for me, and I don't know if this is a possibility to even request, but when the firms do come to present, if they could
Yes.
have like, what was a former plan and what did they do to make it look, to update it? I don't know if they can do that. That we
So-
have an example of what they'll do for us.
Yeah, I mean, they can give examples, for them to go back to our code and take a look though, cause really, it's so out of date. And it's so, I mean, we can take a look at it and try and compare it, but it's way out of date.
Yeah.
We're just scrapping it. So if you have, but we do have, and I think, it's online, the comp plan is. And we do have some copies, if you just want paper copies also, we were prepared for that. So if you wanna take a look and,
Well, I just meant what they've actually done before. Like,
Yeah.
they worked on the city of Shawnee and what does that look like?
exactly,
So
that's
that
what
we
they'll do.
that's
Figure
what,
out who we want.
Yeah, they'll do a presentation for us and, I'm sure there'll be a lot of pretty colors and pictures and all, I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, you know, we're not going to just accept, we're gonna look at it and we have to make sure that we are, and I'll do it, and then as long as you guys back it, this is gonna be your comp plan. You know, a lot of stuff that was written into the comp plan that we have now, you can just tell was a brush stroke of the firm that did it. A great example is this trail system, or if you look in there, you see some of our major road systems that do this. That's not reasonable, you know. So, I just wanna make sure that we tell them, and I will, that, you know, this is gonna be a pretty it will be a precise plan. So that if someone comes in the door and says, hey, I wanna put, I'll just say a trailer park over here, no, it's not allowed there, now you can put it over here. Or industrial, let's use that, since that, you know, this is C2 zoning. You guys do not see industrial there, Pat, don't bring the zoning to us. Okay, so,
Yeah, this is exciting.
and,
We still have to watch. I'm getting, okay. It is the comp plan that we still have to watch the wording of where certain types of businesses or things are allowed, correct?
sure.
We just have to be strategic in picking.
So, to give you an idea, if you come in and say, hey, this looks like an area for C2, I'll tell you by zoning what is allowed in C2. You know, we'll go to the zoning book, and then at that time, we're also gonna look and say, hey, you know, I think it's more advantageous to have car washes in a M district, I'm just using something for example, instead of in C2, or in C2 instead of CO, or, you know. And we can make those notes and come back with adjustments and go through the process of that,
But
through
like
the
our-
ordinance process.
Like our billboards.
Yes,
we
a
are-
perfect example.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we still have to,
Yep.
we can combine them, is what I'm getting at. If you don't like only 1,500 foot in between them, we can bring that out farther. You know, or if you don't even like billboards.
well, there's just two, there's two of them that I'm thinking of specifically, and billboards was one of them, and, a commercial business was another one that we were pretty specific about.
Sure. And we'll also look again, you know, I've beaten an old dead horse, but we'll look at aesthetic values and things like that, that we've been very fortunate that these companies that they are willing to work with the city and do some aesthetic value stuff that we really don't have anything to stand on. You know, I'll go to the comp plan and say, well, guys, look at this, but everybody has been very willing to do that. If you remember, when that RV storage place, you know, and now he's really nice, he's putting stuff everywhere. I mean, a lot better buildings, aesthetic buildings, so.
Yep.
But I would like to have something where, you know, I don't have to kind of work around the verbiage and all, so. I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, the plan scope of the work was very good, so I'm highly looking forward to it. I know Josh is and Troy
Yeah.
and everybody here. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. That's what I
Is
told
there
them to
any,
do.
does anybody have any more other questions about the comprehensive plan scope of work? I read it over it just before we came here, but.
Well, we had sent it out like 5 months ago or something,
Yeah,
and there was very few changes that were asked from the
Right,
plan
I didn't
commission,
see
so we
any
did it,
changes.
so. Yep, well, I appreciate it. Go ahead.
No, is there any other questions about it? Comments? If not, I think now we're gonna go to reports section. Mr. Burton, you have the floor on the reports.
Oh, okay, the 8th, there were no agenda items. The 22nd of September, Family Dollar Tree site plan was approved. South Webster Addition was approved, and Oakwoods 4th was approved. We have, while I'm discussing this, is, you know, we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown. We have several plats that were to go to council, and they've held off on them now, so we're holding them. And
Is that mainly due to raising interest rate, rising?
well, I think that in discussions of them, they're trying to see where that levelization's gonna be. And, cause it's just not working right now, you know, every percent is about $10,000 of buying power. So, you know, in the scheme of things, you've lost $40,000 or so of buying power, plus or minus, depending on your credit and all that. But, and then also, cost of wages is a factor. You know, where basically the $2 million house that's being built can afford to hire everybody away from the $300,000 or $400,000 house that's being built. And so it all plays in combined nature on.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you all for attending.
And thanks everybody for coming here and bearing with us. We try to do the best we can. I don't have any other comments. Does any commissioners have any comments? If not, I think, we just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and second to adjourn. Start the voting on the left.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Rodolfo, I think you need to hold the mic the whole time.